Hi guys, Nigel Farage was invited on to Sky News for some reason. He isn't an MP, he isn't officially the head of a political party, in many ways he's a nobody, but keeps appearing on shows where he can either portray himself as some sort of victim or sell a lie. On the Trevor Philips show, to demonstrate just how much politics has turned into a festering cesspit, Farage claimed that Muslims don't share British values. What's worse is that the comment went pretty much unchallenged. Absolutely disgraceful stuff. Have a listen.
Do you support the government's proposal for a national service?
They don't support it either. It's a joke, isn't it? I mean, look, what you do, you get a focus group of half a dozen Reform voters in a room, and the chairman says, now, what about national service? Oh, I think it's a very good idea. The rest say, yeah, actually, not a bad idea. Oh, policy. So, I mean, look, when you're a weak leader, and Sunak is not a leader in any way at all, you're a follower. So you follow what the focus groups say, and you say, by doing this, I can attack the Reform vote. That's what it's all about. And look, it's totally impractical. The army has shrunk from 100,000 to 75,000 in 14 years of conservatism. And most interestingly, we have a growing number of young people in this country who do not subscribe to British values, in fact, loathe much of what we stand for. So what do you do?
Who are we talking about there?
Oh, I think we see them on the streets of London every Saturday.
What do they look like? Oh, we're talking about...
What do they look like?
Are we talking about Muslims here?
We are. And I'm afraid I found some of the recent surveys saying that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas, support a terrorist organisation that is prescribed in this country. So we've been, and what's interesting is that this Prime Minister is building up far more of that population than anybody before in history.
I don't know which is worse. The fact that Farage goes on TV and goes completely unchallenged, or the fact that he just regurgitates these same talking points. Just, if we go back 10 years, he was blaming Eastern Europeans. Now he's blaming Muslims. The problem is the Muslims. The problem 10 years ago was the Eastern Europeans. We needed to leave the European Union to stop these Eastern Europeans coming over. Now we need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights to get rid of asylum seekers. But he's moved on from asylum seekers, it seems. Muslims in general are the problem because they don't, in his opinion, don't share British values. Well, I don't know. I know quite a few Muslims, and none of them are charlatans, liars, crooks. None of them try to convince people to vote against their own interests. None of them are involved in convincing the public that their enemy is somebody who has nothing. So who shares in general more? Who shares more in general British values? Your average Muslim or Nigel Farage? This guy who has lied to people, who has tricked people, who has convinced people to vote against their own interests, who has told people one thing one day and something completely the opposite the next day. Is that sharing British values? Because for me, British values are about honesty, charity, openness, welcoming people. These are the opposite of Nigel Farage. Now, of course, he knew that he could go on the Trevor Philips show because he'd be pushing against an open door when it comes to this particular issue. Absolute disgrace. This is the type of language you would hear 20, 30, maybe 40 years ago from the likes of the BNP or the National Front. Just look at how politics has gone really down the toilet. That Nigel Farage can go on a national broadcaster, national television, and talk about how Muslims don't share British values, and go completely unchallenged by Sky News. I don't know what else to say about this. He's not, I keep coming back to this point, he's a nobody. Why is he being broadcast? Why is he being given this amount of oxygen, this platform, all the time? We saw it in during the Brexit vote. In the run-up to the Brexit vote, he was constantly on TV talking about how we need to leave the European Union to bring down immigration. We need to leave the European Union to control borders. We need to leave the European Union to be able to fund the NHS. All of these things. All turned out to be lies, of course. And did he disappear in shame? Of course not. He was brought back constantly for his opinion. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.